In my last video, I showed you some lesser known phones under 150,000 naira that you probably never considered buying. But many of you keep asking the same question. What about TECNO, Infinix, itel, Redmi or POCO? So this time, we are checking them out. I have picked two phones from each brand, all competing around 150,000 naira price points. So stay till the end because I will tell you which phone from each brand are actually worth considering. Let's start with TECNO. First up is the TECNO Spark 40. The 128GB version can be found at around 147,000 naira. But there is an important catch. This price is not widely available. Many sellers are also selling the same version above 150,000 naira, with some prices even going higher. So for this particular model under 150,000 naira, it's limited. One thing you will notice immediately is the design. The camera layout gives the Spark 40 a look that is surprisingly similar to the iPhone 17 Pro Max. But do not let the premium looking design deceive you. This is still a budget smartphone. You get a 4GB of RAM with a 128GB of storage, a 50MP main camera and a 5200mAh battery. One of its biggest advantage is its 45W fast charging. For this price, that's a very attractive package. The Spark 40 is mainly for people who want a stylish phone with fast charging. Next is the TECNO Spark 30C, and this one is cheaper. The 128GB version starts at around 136,000 naira to 141,000 naira, depending on the seller. You get a 4GB of RAM with a 128GB of storage, a 50MP main camera, and a 5000mAh battery. It also comes with a 120Hz refresh rate display, which makes every scrolling feel smoother. But there are reports of this phone getting quite warm. So this is not a phone I will pretend it's perfect, but at its price, it offers a pretty solid package. It's mainly for students and for people who are looking for affordable everyday phone. Now, between these two TECNO phones, the Spark 40 is the most complete option, while the Spark 30 makes sense if you want to spend less. Now, before we move on to Infinix Phones, if you are enjoying this comparison, consider subscribing to the channel. We are not just reading specifications here. We are looking at price, good side, and its weaknesses. And also what real users are saying before recommending these phones. If you want more honest phone comparison that will help you spend your money wisely, then hit the subscribe button right now. Now let's see what Infinix has to offer. First up is the Infinix Smart 10. The 128GB version is going for around 125,000 naira to 140,000 naira depending on the seller. You get a 4GB of RAM with a 128GB of storage, a 120Hz display and a 5000mAh battery. For photography, there is an 8MP main camera, so do not expect a flagship level camera quality here. Its biggest advantage is its low price and a smooth 120Hz display, but the camera is definitely one area where the Infinix has cut costs because it's not all that impressive. This phone is mainly for students and people who need an affordable everyday phone. Next is the Infinix Smart 10 Plus. This one sits slightly higher at around 135,000 naira to 145,000 naira. You get a 4GB of RAM paired with 128GB of storage, a 120Hz display, and a much bigger 6000mAh battery with 18W charging. If battery life is important to you, this is where the Smart 10 Plus becomes interesting. But again, the camera is not the selling point here. This is about battery life and everyday usability than in photography. It is mainly for heavy phone users and people who prioritize long battery life. Between the two, I will give the Smart 10 Plus the advantage because of its biggest battery and its overall strong package. Now, let's talk about itel because this is where things get interesting. First up is the itel A200 Plus. The 128GB version starts from around 135,000 naira to 140,000 naira, depending on the seller. The design gives this phone much expensive look that you might expect at this price point. You get a 128GB of storage, making it useful if you keep a lot of apps, photos and videos on your phone. Its biggest attraction is the combination of price, storage and the modern looking design. But this is not the phone I would recommend if you're looking for a serious performance. It's mainly for students and everyday users who want plenty of storage. Next is the itel P65 with a 128GB of storage version going for around 130,000 naira to 135,000 naira depending on the seller and where you check. You get a 4GB of RAM with a 128GB of storage, and you also get a 6000mAh battery. For someone who spends a lot of time on their phone, the large battery is the major advantage. But the P65 is still a budget phone, so do not expect a flagship level camera or performance. Its biggest strength is its battery life and value for money. It's mainly for everyday users and students who need a phone that can last longer between charges. Between the two, I will lean toward the itel P65 because it gives you a stronger battery package while still staying within our 150,000 naira targets. Now let's move on to Redmi. And if you're looking for a phone that gives you a lot without spending the full 150,000 naira, the Redmi has some interesting options. First is the Redmi A7 Pro with the 128GB version starting from around 140,000 naira to 144,000 naira. You get a 120Hz screen, 4GB of RAM, 128GB of storage, and a 6000 mAh battery. So battery life is one of its biggest selling points. The camera setup is more basic though, so this is not the phone to choose mainly on photography. It's mainly for entertainment and people who prioritize battery life. Now let's quickly check on you. If you are not subscribed yet, now is the right time to do so. We still have one brand left, and then I will tell you the overall winners. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next on the channel. The next is the Redmi A5. And this one is more affordable. The 128GB version starts from around 127,000 naira to 130,000 naira. You get a 4GB of RAM with a 128GB of storage, and you also get a 5200 mAh battery, making it a practical everyday phone. Do not expect high-end camera performance or heavy-duty processing from this one. Its biggest advantage is value for money because of its lower price. It's mainly for students and for people who want affordable everyday smartphone. Between the two, the Redmi A7 Pro is more impressive option, while the A5 is a better choice if keeping the price low is a priority. Now, let's finish with POCO. And if you're looking for performance and value, this is one brand you should not ignore. First is the POCO C71 with the 128GB of storage version going for around 122,000 naira to 130,000 naira. You get a 4GB of RAM with a 128GB of storage, a 120Hz display, a 5200 mAh battery, and a 32 megapixel main camera. But remember, megapixels do not automatically mean better photos. The biggest attraction here is the combination of low price, large storage, and smooth display. It's mainly for students and for people who want an affordable entertainment phone. Finally, we have the POCO C81 Pro. The 128GB version sits at around 130,000 naira to 147,000 naira depending on the seller. You get a 128GB of storage, a 6000 mAh battery. If battery life is one of your biggest concerns, this phone becomes quite interesting. But this is still an entry-level phone. Do not expect flagship-level camera performance. Its biggest advantage is battery life and value for money. It is mainly for heavy everyday users and for people who want a long battery life. And that brings us to the end of our 10 phone comparisons. After comparing all 10 phones, there's no one perfect phone for everyone, but the TECNO Spark 40, Infinix Smart 10 Plus, itel P65, Redmi A7 Pro, and POCO C81 Pro stood out the most in these categories. Which one will you choose and why? Let me know in the comment section below. And if this video helped you, subscribe for more honest phone comparisons. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.